I am now in launch mode. Yesterday, I completed all the planning for the first part of my trip for this year, which I'm cleverly calling Tour 25. And I have nothing to do for the next few days until I actually leave town. It's such a liberating feeling. This year's trip starts in Boston and finishes in Istanbul. And it starts off with an airplane ride, as you might guess, from Boston to Norway. And from there, I'm taking trains and ferries and airplanes to Istanbul. So I'm going to be stopping in 8 European cities, 6 of which I've never been to before, starting with Bergen. Then I train to Oslo, then Stockholm. Then I take the ferry from Stockholm to Gdansk. Then the train from Gdansk to Warsaw and Krakow. Oh yeah, Budapest. Train from Krakow to Budapest also. Now, I've been to Budapest before, but I haven't been to the other places in Norway, Sweden, or Poland. From Budapest, I fly to Istanbul, and from there, I fly to Malaysia. Now, I've been to Budapest and Istanbul before, so these are not new cities. And Istanbul, by the way, is one of my favorite places on earth. If you haven't ever been to Istanbul and you like to travel, you should give it a try. Normally when I plan travel, I sort of wing it as I go. Last year, for example, on La Tour 24, I made plans up until Siem Reap. I flew to Bangkok and then to Siem Reap in Cambodia. And from there, I had no further destinations or plans, so I made them as I went. And I ended up in places like Sri Lanka, a couple of different cities there, same for India, and finally into Kathmandu in Nepal before I flew on to Malaysia. But each city, I made plans for the next one after I got to the city right before it. So it's kind of a free-form trip. This one is a little bit different this year because I'm flying to Europe in the summertime. So I was thinking that hotels might be much more expensive or harder to come by. So I wanted to plan my trip ahead of time so that I at least had a plan. If they change, okay, but at least I had a plan before I left. I don't have much experience planning train travel, but I was pleasantly surprised by an app called Rail Ninja. I found that in every case or every city or every connection I wanted to make, Rail Ninja was able to give me some suggestions, and I was able to choose one, make the reservation, pick my seat, and pay for it all on the app. And then they would email me an electronic ticket. So if you're looking for an easy way to make train reservations in Europe, I use Rail Ninja and I like it. The other thing that I wasn't really familiar with was a ferry. Most of the ferries I've taken so far in my life have been short trips compared to the one from Stockholm to Gdansk, which is 18 hours long. I used a company called Paula Ferries, which is a Polish company that sails from a city that's a little bit south of Stockholm into Gdansk. From Krakow, I'm taking a train to Budapest, and then from Budapest to Istanbul, I'm flying on Turkish Airlines. I'm using points on this trip for both of my flights so far, and then I have one more flight to get from Malaysia back to the US, which I also plan to use points for. I already told you about Rail Ninja for train tickets. Other apps I use for this are Google Flights, and I use that just mainly to get an idea of the airlines and kinds of flights between the places I want to go. I never book from Google Flights or from any of the consolidator websites. Once I find a flight that I want to take, I always book directly with the airline. That way, if you run into any problems, then the airline itself takes care of it. So I always use Google Flights to find the kind of connections that are available, and then if I spot one I want, I go directly to the airline. To make hotel reservations, I use booking.com. Anything that's really long, though, in terms of lodging, I try to use Airbnb, because generally speaking, those fees or rates can be a little bit cheaper in the long term. If you're just booking for 1 or 2 nights, it's often better and cheaper to get a hotel. You get something nicer from booking.com than you're going to get at Airbnb. But when I stay at a hotel, I always look for a place that not only looks comfortable, but also offers breakfast as part of the rate. The other app I use to keep track of everything is called TripIt. There is a free version and a pro version, and I use the pro version. It costs me about $50 a year, and I'm not really sure what the difference between the free version and the pro version is, except that I can upload PDF tickets to the pro version, and I don't think you can do that with the free version. But if you travel a lot or to a lot of different places, you can use TripIt to keep track of all the stuff that you need to do, and it's done in chronological order. I find it very useful. And what happens is when you make a reservation for an airline seat or a hotel stay, Airbnb stay, ferry ride, you name it, whatever it is, when you get the receipt back, a confirmation email, you just forward that to TripIt and it shows up in your itinerary. I find TripIt very useful because when you're just on the go, you can always see what the flight number is. Sometimes you'll get a gate notice, things like that. The same kind of thing you'll get from the airline app. But I put everything in TripIt because it's a convenient way to keep track of everything in one spot. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Be seeing you.